Thank you. Honorable Chief of Justice of Papua New Guinea, Honorable President of East African Court, distinguished guests from Minister of Justice, ladies and gentlemen. It's absolute my privilege to be here and share with you some of our work that we have been doing. Particularly, I will link my presentation to the needs of justice sector and specifically in Rwanda. But I will start with a little bit of history, as today is, I see that it's tradition initiated by Jean-Louis to go back into history. Let me also do that because that's an interesting name, like Intelligent Monitoring and Evaluation. First, I will talk a little bit about monitoring and evaluation, and then I will explain why I call it intelligent and how this is linked to today's agenda. So if we go back like 15 years ago, in 2004, December 26, the tsunami of enormous magnitude struck the Indian Ocean, which devastated 4 or 5 countries: Indonesia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, Maldives, even south of India. And that killed more than 200,000 people, made more than 2 million people homeless. And there was also unimaginable reaction from the world, pouring in a lot of funds. Only United Nations Fund received more than $6 billion for reconstruction and rehabilitation. Synergy was asked to create this tracking system, monitoring system, how this more than $6 billion would be spent and what results would be achieved. I myself traveled to all these countries on emergency, and I started asking myself the question, all right, we are talking about more than $6 billion. They are going to be spent, but then what? Are they going to meet the needs of these people? Is it going to be much better or little better? And then I realized that only spending money, funds, timely in budget, which we used to have for many governments, reporting how good they are if they spend their budget and then they close it with like a good books. But then there used to be the situation that citizens would not ask. And then what we achieved at the end. So slowly but surely, now governments are coming to that question. What are the results that we are going to achieve if we spend this much money? And those questions that I was asking myself in those devastated areas was, which are the strategic goals, which are objectives, which are outcomes that people need to build more homes, hospitals, other facilities. And then you cannot make one project that would meet all these goals. You have to implement thousands of projects, each of them small one, which would just deliver a small outputs. You would train nurses, you would build one school. How this school will at the end up being a good strategy level goal of improving like literacy rate in that country. So that is the very interesting issues that needs to be well researched and implemented. So since that time, Synergy was greatly involved in this aspect of monitoring and evaluation. Let me guide you a little bit through my slides. So then what is results-based monitoring and evaluation? First of all, it is a management tool to help track progress and demonstrate the impact of development project program policies. And it has two aspects, monitoring and evaluation. So monitoring part is continuous process of collecting and analyzing information on key indicators and comparing actual results with expected results targets in order to measure how well the project program policy is being implemented. And then the evaluation part of this is that you assess or your planned, ongoing, or completed project interventions to determine its relevance, efficiency, effectiveness, impact, and sustainability. This is what traditional M&E is. Now, I'm going to talk about intelligent M&E and what difference that would make for M&E. This is my definition, is the ability of results-based M&E to find causal relationships between project-level outputs, which are, as I explained, the small outputs of small projects, thousands of projects, and finding this relationship between those small and too many outputs with strategic outcomes that you put as a level that you would like to achieve by using artificial intelligence in order to forecast the likelihood of achieving those outcomes. This is a very difficult issue, how you make sure that by implementing thousands of small outputs, you can achieve your goal at the end. Because when time goes after 5 years, it's too late to know whether you missed or you achieved those goals. This information can be used to recommend targeted interventions for course correction. So early on, when you know if you are going to achieve these targets, if not, then you can make some correction. You can add more or change the course or do something else. I think that's the idea behind of this. Let me just give you very brief definitions of indicators. I don't need maybe to explain targets, baseline, but logical framework is a matrix which links all this together. Activities, results, program, policy, or project in one hierarchy. This is so-called theory of change. It's known theory, which links inputs are those funds, money that you have to put into the system to get something, to change something. If you don't do that, then the system will continue operating on its own. But if you would like to change to do something, then you have to make intervention. You have to put inputs. Inputs normally is financial, human, and material resources. Then you implement activities on the basis of those inputs, and which produce outputs, as I explained. But then you have higher level results, which are outcomes and impacts, more longer term results, which are measured independently. When you do one project, you cannot measure the outcome because outcome will be measured independently. Let me give you one example from the health area, which I spent half of my life in health. For me, it's very, very near a good area to talk about. So activities, let's say one activity would be like immunization of children. This is activities. Then the output would be one output, number of children vaccinated or number of nurses trained, this type of outputs. But then what you would like to achieve at the end, reduction in infectious diseases. And longer term impact is child morbidity and mortality reduced. So if you do one training, you cannot say how much you reduced mortality of children. It's impossible. But you know, but there is a link. If you do more training, more vaccinations, you expect to get closer to that reduction of child mortality, right? How to measure it, how to do this. This is where I will show in my consecutive slides, where the mathematical methods as well as artificial intelligence techniques help today to get into more insight of this dilemma. This is one of the logical frameworks which has a program framework, program, project, activities. It has performance framework starting from right to left, outputs, outcomes, objectives, goals, and it has measurements, all indicators, output indicators, those that you can measure and make some analysis. This is one of the result framework. I have just grabbed one screen from our systems. Now, let me go first into this one, I'll come back to. We say intelligent access to an M&E database. You see on the left, there's a traditional access to database, which you have your application, monitoring the value in the application, and goes into database to collect data. But what we are doing more now, intelligent access, which means that your application does not access data directly. It goes another place, which we call knowledge base. From knowledge base, it learns more about specifics of those data. What are the meaning of the data in database? And for example, what we provide in that knowledge base is for every indicator, what type of indicator is this? How it is calculated, how aggregated, what is the correlation of this indicator with other indicators, and what are the accepted norms or out of norms or outliers, which are the various variables that link to that indicator. The similar for program, you can say what type of program, financial value of the program, the duration, key performance indicators, etc., etc. So, now, artificial intelligence and the techniques for M&E. In fact, I would go back again one more time into history. I did my PhD in 1982. By saying this, I revealed my age, right? sorry for that. As we had computers at that time. Was not paper, it was computer-based. And my PhD was in artificial intelligence, believe me. And that was for knowledge representation. That was the reason I was talking about how you can present your knowledge in the knowledge base and then go to database. These ideas help, I think, Synergy to build more intelligent systems. And machine learning is a variety of different tools and techniques which allow computer program to learn and improve over time. It's not something you have given. For example, if you drive your car and your Google says that, hey, you have to turn it now, make a U-turn, but you find that you had better place to U-turn before that sign, what Google is suggesting, and you turn, Google does not learn that you found better way of doing this. Next time you go again, it will look into its original program and say, go 2 more kilometers to make a U-turn, but you saw that you can do it. So system did not learn from your experience. I think that is what making machine learning different. All the experience that you teach and then the system starts learning how to make it better next time, because you are the teacher of that system you are using. Then you show how you can improve the system. And related to the M&E, to output, outcomes, indicators, two important ways to use these machine learning models is to make a predictive and prescriptive analytics. What is the difference? Predictive analytics use all this data, historic data, to make prediction about how this, in the future, your data will be seen. Are you going to have you achieved something or not? Prescriptive does that, and plus shows how you can do that. Not only make a forecast, but also shows how to get there. And what if scenarios and what if tool is really helping making a lot of investigations, trying this or another way. I will show on specific example. This is not theoretical presentation. I'm sorry if you think of that. But this is introduction to a practical sample. And this is the practical one. Now we get into justice. So there is one outcome. And in fact, this is our work. By the way, what I'm going to show, it's not implemented yet. It is still work in progress. It's in our R&D, research and development. And data that I'm going to use are fictitious, not in Rwanda today. So I'm not using the real data on ICMS. We will get into that point maybe at one point, but not, it has not been done to this moment. And I would say this, since we are now in the stage, as today USAID representative and Honorable Chief Justice referred to monitoring the evaluation part of ICMS, we are now actively working on that aspect. But I would call it as a cherry on the cake, where cherry is the M&E system, but the cake is ICMS. If ICMS would not be there, we could do nothing. Why? Because first of all, any M&E system, any artificial intelligence system, they need a lot of data. And data is the basis of anything, any analysis you are able to do. Without this integrated system that would collect daily operations of every case in every court or police or correctional services, wherever, that is the basis. When you have it, then you feel much stronger and better equipped to do more, to go beyond and then create M&E system, artificial intelligence. Someone was telling about robots, judge. These are maybe in the future, not today. Anyhow, but let me go into this one example. Let's say there is one outcome that we would like to achieve, which is deliver quality and timely judgment by improving case management. Seems very good target, right? But how to achieve it? If you do one thing, training of judges, are you going to achieve this or not? It seems like unrelated. But I will try to show you there is a way to know that if we do something, then we may have better chance to get into this one. It's a bit a small font, but let me explain you. This outcome, which is deliver quality and timely judgment by improving case management, would have one indicator, which is called percentage of citizens having trust in court decision. And second one, rate of judiciary independence. And apparently there are two outputs that are somehow related to this one outcome. Output one is improved quality of judgments. Output two is improved timely judgment. So first one is quality, second is timely. And what are these outputs? How you measure these outputs? For outputs of quality of judgments, you have three indicators. Rate of rate of occurrence of injustice cases, rate of judiciary independence, percentage of overturned cases at appeal level. For timely judgment, you may have these indicators: average time a case takes to start hearing, rate of case backlog, rate of case adjournment, and disposal rate. I think we are getting into another level which is pretty measurable. And then let's see if we measure and we find any link between this level output and our important outcome. There is interactive 5-step procedure for finding optimal outputs and activities for selected outcomes. I'm going to show you how we are doing that. So we are applying machine learning techniques, teaching the model for 80% of data set and using 20% for testing, seeing if we have taught correctly, like two different sets of data. So first we select outcome indicators. These are the screenshots from the system. And this outcome is percentage of citizens that trust in court decisions. Now, this is the step 2. Step 2 has these 5 outputs. As I told you, all these outputs, and I cannot read it well there. Okay. Rate of case backlog, disposal rate, rate of occurrence of injustice cases, average time a case takes to start hearing, rate of case adjournment. And then we did some statistical analysis and found out that first 2 have much higher correlation to the outcome rather than 3 below. You can see the arrow that shows vertically up. That means that it's a correlation, high correlation, meaning dependency. If you change the output, there is a greater chance that outcome will be changed accordingly. And can you move a little bit? Yes. On the right side, this shows that you can then make this predictive analytics to show up to 2025. If it goes that way, then you will achieve 60% instead of 25% in 2015, let's say. But then you may consider this is not enough. You want to get to 80% in 2025. How you can do that? Let me show you. Now, as you can see, I have unchecked first 2 outputs, and my outcome is now dependent on 3 relatively lower correlation. If we look into the chart on the right, then if you only do link with those, you will achieve in 2025 only, what is the percentage? 20 at the end. Yeah, 20%. And if you look into the correlation with first 2, which are higher correlation, then you will achieve 40% in 2025. So all 5 together will bring you to 60%. 2 strong correlations, outputs, will bring you to 40%. Without these, 20%. Now, if you go into this, if you can expand a little bit. Can you expand? All right. Look at this. All these, you show the outcome, percentage of citizens that trust in court decisions. You can see by year, it shows how you will go, if you can move a little bit. So in 2025, you will get to the level of 60%. And you see that outputs underneath show which level they will be. If I am able to, let's say, change the rate of case backlog, for example, in 2022, instead of 7.2, if I go and update this number and make 10, my system, what if scenario, my system will recalculate everything, correlations, and then will show that upper row, which is outcome indicator, will be more than 44% in 2020. So that's your play. You can play with this. The executive level people can say, how come? If we do this, if we achieve backlog at 10, then how much will be our outcome? And is that outcome that I would like to achieve in 2020? So this is the tool for executive people to really understand where they can put their money and create activities. At the end, what you would like to do, you need to do some activities. Now, but your activities are better understandable, because if you would like to reduce your backlog, it's easier than to get a percentage of citizens trusting, because that's measured completely independently, right? Through the surveys. You have no influence on that, but you may have influence on your backlog. You better train your judges or make additional resources for judges, etc. We brought that complex outcome to more measurable, simplified, what you can do in order to achieve that overall, which at the beginning seemed to be, you cannot do that. How you know if you are going to achieve this or not? This is the principles of monitoring the evaluation, and I think at this moment we are getting closer to make it smarter, to make intelligent monitoring and evaluation. So I think that is the meaning of my presentation. And as a conclusion, so the purpose of Intelligent M&E is to empower justice sector practitioners and executives with the results from artificial intelligence algorithms for improving the performance of their institutions. Another conclusion is that the collection of large quantities of good quality data through ICMS is critical for supplying the required data to the model. And Intelligent M&E will help in recommending a set of targeted interventions for ensuring that strategic goals and our related measurable indicators are achieved. Before concluding my presentation, I would like to go back one more time to Mr. Jean-Louis and Honorable Chief Justice of Papua New Guinea, who both referred to that leadership required to achieve results. Through my personal experience in creating large-scale database system in public sector throughout these 20 years with Synergy, I learned that myself, those countries that did not provide that level of leadership not always won their systems. They may be able to do that for 1 year, for 6 months, for 2 years, after everybody is watching, if the leadership is still on top of this. If they feel leadership is now more or less neutral, they try to slow down, because there is always resistance to new changes. That's very natural. I don't want to blame anyone, because nobody wants to change the way that they learn to do, and you are getting into new situation, new environment, and trying to bring them to work completely different. And that natural resistance, and it is not get won in one day and won forever. You have to keep doing that for years, years and years. And those countries that really proved that they are on top of things, they are very, very much dedicated from top to down to achieve the results. I think they succeed. Rwandan Justice Ministry is one of the greatest examples of this. I don't want to overstate the role of software, though I am on software side, I am presenting the software. The software is only part, I would say even smaller part of the success, how important it is to be. Much greater part is the people that would implement. That makes success from failure. The good system helps them to make better arguments for succeeding, but it cannot guarantee on its own that there is a success. For that reason, I'm really grateful for the entire staff of ministry, especially the Minister of Justice, Honorable Chief Justice. They have devoted their entire career, their life to achieve this. And I'm also thankful to regular, ordinary staff of the ministry who made their daily job and made maybe through difficult period of learning things and changing the way that they have been operating for many years, because they knew that everybody, they would like to get success. And that's where now success is. Thank you for your attention.